What's going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time joining me today, my name is Noah Cavanaugh and I'm a pro footballer from Seattle, Washington. Today's video, I've got a very special guest on for an interview. His name is Anthony Legendre. He's another OPSM athlete. He's currently playing in the USL 2 at the South Bend Lions. He's a fantastic human being and just a really hard worker. He's got the most positive attitude I've seen in a long, long time and just respect the heck out of him. So very excited to talk to him today, and I hope you enjoy all of the kind of tidbits of advice and knowledge that he has playing professionally over the last several years with several different clubs, which we'll go into. So yeah, enjoy the interview, guys. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me today again. Today I have a very special guest, Anthony Legendre, who is here. He is in South Bend right now playing for the South Bend Lions, and it's a fellow OPSM pro athlete. So super stoked to have you on. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate you reaching out to me and wanting to collab. So
Definitely. It's about time. It's been too long.
yeah, honestly, it took us a while to set this up because you're super busy and I've got a lot of things going on, but I'm happy that we did it sooner than later. So
That's
it's
it.
good.
That's it. So yeah, jumping right into it. Let's talk a little bit about sort of your youth career. I know you moved to Canada when you were like 12 or 13.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, go on. Sorry, I'll let you finish your question.
No, yeah. So I guess
Okay.
just maybe go from there to like pre-Ottawa Fury days. So like right around there.
Okay. Okay. So I started playing soccer when I was really young. Kind of just like you and everyone else who starts playing soccer. I started playing when I was 4. And so, I mean, I guess I always loved the game since really young. And when I was younger, I used to travel back and forth to Haiti a lot. And whenever I would go in the summertime, I'd just be playing soccer every day. So I grew love for the game really young. And then, yeah, like you said, we moved in 2008 from Florida to Toronto at the time. And I was playing kind of mixed soccer. So I was playing in the YMCA. I never really played competitive like when I was younger. My mom just kind of threw me into the YMCA like U9 team, and I would just play whatever I can every Sundays. I remember I used to be so excited. And now the thing is that, like, a lot of people don't know that when I was younger, I was kind of like I was a troubled child. So like I'd always get in trouble in school and stuff. And my mom would always be like, "You're not going to soccer." And I would always cry. Like every Sunday, I remember I used to be super excited. So from U5 to U10, I would play in the YMCA. I played every year.
Mhm.
And then when we ended up moving to Toronto, that's when I started liking more and more soccer, because as I moved to Toronto, it was a pretty big thing at the time. Most of the kids that were in my school were into soccer. And so I think I started playing for a team. I couldn't tell you what their name was, but it was a house league team. And
Okay.
and we had a really good house league team. There was a bunch of guys on the team who had played competitive, and we were beating teams like 11-0, 12-0. And I remember a scout came to the game. Now, this team called Scarborough Blizzards from Scarborough at the time, they were a competitive team. A scout came to the game, and then they talked to me after the game. They're like, "Hey, we'd like you to come play for our team and things." And at the time, I was kind of like, all my friends were playing in the house league team, and
Mhm.
we were winning all the games. So I was like, no, like, I was kind of stubborn about it. I was like, no, I don't want to leave. I don't want to go. But then one of my friends' mom, who was pretty knowledgeable on soccer and stuff at the time, he said, it's like a really good opportunity for me to get better and improve. And so I remember during that time, I was like, yeah, why not? Let me play for the Scarborough Blizzards. And so I ended up moving to them. And I'm sure you've done a lot of your research, but I used to be chubby back in the day. So I used to be like not the fittest player, but I always have a decent touch in my passing. That's always been the best part of my game. Uh, and so I remember I used to be super chubby at the time, and the coach made me do a bunch of fitness to help me get better, in the fitness wise. And then I just started, liking it more and more. And then I remember in 2010, I moved from Toronto to Ottawa. And
Mhm.
so the last club that I played for in Toronto were the Toronto Blizzards. And I was also playing school soccer while I was there. But
Yep.
when I moved to Ottawa, that's when it was like, whoa, like I'm serious about soccer, because I was super blessed to be around a lot of people who had the same dreams and the same goals as me, like soccer wise. So I moved to Ottawa and I started playing futsal in towards the end of the grade nine season. I started playing futsal with a team called Ottawa Royals.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like a local club. And most of my friends in school at the time were playing. That's how I got connected to them, because I started playing school soccer. I went to a school called Woodruff High School, and they had a pretty good soccer program. A lot of players coming out of there that wanted to go pro and did a lot of things. So yeah, I started playing with a team called Ottawa Royals from that time all the way to my theory time. So when I first started, like futsal, I was doing really good. I really liked it. You know,
Yep.
for me, I feel like it's a lot easier for me to play futsal than it is 11v11, because most of my strengths that I play in the game, you know, helped me really good in futsal. So I played for Ottawa Royals in U14 and then U15. So year 15 is the year that I wanted to try out for Ottawa Fury, and so they were having open trials, and then me and my really good friends, were like, sure, why not? Let's go and let's just try it out, because we wanted to be more competitive, you know. And when I told you that, I was super blessed to have those people around me, because every single day, what I would be doing was I'd either be running cross country or practicing at school or training with my friends. And majority of my friend group, that's all we did every single day. And so I ended up going to trial for the Ottawa Fury team my first year. The coach really liked me. His name was Mike Galliano. He liked my technical abilities, but it was the same type of thing. He was saying, you know what, maybe you need to get stronger, faster, you know, focus on this for a whole year, come back, and then the next year we'll take you. And so I ended up playing for Ottawa Royals that summer. But the training that I was doing at that time made me like gain so much more experience and made me get better and better. So like I didn't even realize it, but I was getting really good. Like when me and my friends would play in the Ottawa Royals games, and it was kind of like, it wasn't easy, but you know, we stood out as like one of the better players during that
Yeah.
time. So I ended up, I remember in my U15 year, I was the captain of our team. Like we did really well in the season. We went off to win like a couple of tournaments, and it was you know, it was really good. And so that's pretty much the time that I took until I started playing for the Ottawa Fury. So I played for Ottawa Royals, Scarborough Blizzards. Yeah, those were the competitive clubs that I played for until I got to the Ottawa Fury.
Was there any point in that time frame that you sort of like clicked, or maybe was it past then when you said, hey, this is something that I want to pursue professionally at some point?
I think it was a little later than that, because
Okay.
I did it in 2013, or actually, yeah, it could have been around that time in 2013. I think I was either grade 11 or going on to grade 12. I went to grade 12. So yeah, it's a little later than that. I went to Brazil. So I stayed in Cruzeiro. I did like a training program in Cruzeiro for like a month
Wow.
and a little bit. And that's when that was like the big eye opener for me, because I went at the time and I think I was 17 or 16, and I was training with the 15, 16, 17-year-olds. And the things that I would see these kids do, I was like, oh my gosh, like you know, when you go to a different country and you get to see a different playing style, I was kind of like, whoa, like this is serious, you know. And I think when I went there, that's when it was like a real eye opener, like that I would have to, you know, step up the trainings, the amount of trainings that I was doing. And so it was a little later in my high school career when I realized that this is what I really wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that last summer there was like a period of training that you improved a ton, even though it may not have felt like it. What did that, like, what kind of training were you doing? Like, was it just kind of playing around the street? Was it really intentional stuff? Like, what kind of stuff were you doing at
It
that
was
time?
it was it was a little bit of both, honestly. Like so I was blessed. So uh, I'll give you some names. So my really close friend, his name was Yaya at the time, and he also wanted to be a professional soccer player. My other good friend Novello, Ahmed, all these guys that I surrounded myself, Mo, all these guys that I was with, we go out to train. We do our extra training. So imagine, like I'll give you my day. So I'd wake up in the morning, I go to school. Lunchtime, I play soccer, kick around with my boys, train, whatever. After school, we'd have school practice. Okay, after school practice, if we didn't have club practice, we go train. So we do a lot of technical work, a lot of passing drills. You know, so at the time, one of my really closest friends, his older brother had a lot of drills, and he basically like trained us. So we go if we needed to work on our long ball technique, he would teach us stuff like that. You know what I mean? So we worked on a lot of technical stuff, a lot of possession, a lot of rondos, stuff like that, on our free time. And then I would also play. So where I lived, there was there was a park that was pretty close.
Mhm.
So a lot of people would come out to play. So every day that I didn't have practice, I'd go play. So I just go play games and whatnot. And so during that time, I was getting better technically, but I was also getting getting more confidence because,
Yeah.
like I was just touching the ball every single day. And one thing that I always try to tell the people who watch my YouTube, all the younger players, is it doesn't matter what you're doing really at that age. If you're touching the ball every single day at 12, 13, 14, you're going to start to get more comfortable, and get better with the ball. So I feel like just the extra training, like everything, like playing for fun. I'd go out to the park, play for fun. It wouldn't mean anything, right? And then I'd go to training. It'd be more competitive. I'd be more serious, and then
Mhm.
also do the extra training with my friends. You know what I mean? So
Definitely. Yeah. And I think there's a big emphasis, and this is something that I've realized later in my career as well, is the training, like as much of your training as possible, especially on the off season and stuff. And it sounds like during this period of time, it's so much more beneficial. Like, yeah, doing training alone, doing fitness alone is fine, but like the more you can train with other high level players is game changing. Like it's absolute game changing. And I think
right,
that's like, especially at your age, right? Like, or I guess your age back then, at
yeah,
13,
right.
14, 15 years old, like that's such a huge thing for you to have had that opportunity to. Um, and I think like what a good way to set yourself up for success in those trials for Fury.
Right. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. And it's kind of like what you just said, because like, remember I told you, most of my friends wanted to be pro as well. So when
Yeah.
we trained with each other, it'd be competitive. Like we fight, we'd cry, all this stuff. And, because that's how you get better. Like when you're training with better players and you're taking competitively, you're only going to grow and get better. Right. So,
That's it.
so
That's it.
definitely.
Yeah. And Fury at the time was in, I think, either NASL, USL Championship. Their like
No,
first
no,
team was.
they're a PDL at the time.
Oh, they were
So when I was
PDL at the time.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. The first year that I tried out for them, I remember I used to go to a couple of the games. They were
Yeah.
PDL, and they were doing really good. So they had a guy named Carl Hayworth. So he's
Yeah.
playing in the USL Championship. He was there at the time, and then there was another guy, Will Borge. I can't remember, but they had some serious ballers, and they were tearing up the PDL. But that's when they were transferring from the PDL into the pro game. So
Okay.
they ended up going from PDL to the NASL. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So they ended up, yeah, a couple years later, they ended up going to the NSL.
Okay. And were you trying out for that team or you were trying out for one of the academies?
No, I was trying out for the academy. So I was trying out for the U15 team, and they're a showcase team basically. They go into the
Nice.
states. So all of our games that we played were away in the states. And so,
Wow.
so like I told you, I didn't make it the first year. The next year I came back. Like throughout that whole year, I just focused on getting my fitness levels up.
Hmm.
And I always tell this story, but it's kind of funny because I didn't even notice. But I ran cross country for a whole year with my school. So like I wasn't the fastest person, but we ended up doing really good. And in Canada, we have something called OFSA, which is basically like your national finals. And I
Okay.
got carried. Like I'm not gonna lie, I got carried. I was probably like the last person on my team, but it's crazy because I made such a huge improvement like from the first cross country practice that I had. Like all these girls, like everyone, I was always last. Like I was always that kid that everyone had to wait for,
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Like I just stuck to it. Like every day my friends were doing it, so I was kind of doing, like I was blessed because the people that I had with me really just pushed me. And at the time, my cross country coach, he really believed in me, and he said, if that's your goal, we're gonna work hard to get it. And so the
Hmm.
whole year I ran every single day. I kid you not, like even in the winter time, like how bad it gets in Canada, the snow,
Yeah.
everything. I trained every single day, ran. So I would run cross country if I didn't have practice after school, or I would go from cross country to my practice. You know what I mean? And so I was
Hmm.
just doing so much. And I feel like at that time, 14, 15, 16, I was still growing. So it was a perfect time for me to just really kill my body. Like right now, I could not do that, like I'd
Yeah.
be
No.
super sore, because it's later in my career. But at that time, it was so perfect. And so throughout that whole year of 2011, I ended up getting, like for cross country, I ended up getting MVP, not because I was the best, but I was like the most dedicated. And then we ended up going to offset. Like my time started to get a lot better. And then my mom and my sister, I remember they were just like, yo, like what happened to you? Like, what the heck? How'd you get so skinny? Like, I just got skinny. And then I started to have abs or whatever. And my sister was like, what the heck? Like, what happened? And it's because I was running like consistently. I was running 5 to 6K, 7K every day. And then my coach used to make me do like 50 push-ups, 50 crunches every single day, right? And then I didn't even notice it at the time, but I just started to get more fit, And then I ended up going back to the trials in 2000 and when was it? 2013, either 2012 or 2013. And then they liked me, ended up playing on the showcase team. We went to Florida. We played in the IMG Academy. So we played like a big tournament there. And that was like my first real trip. Like, whoa, like this is cool, So we traveled, like I was with the team. And then from there on, I played another year for the Fury Academy. They ended up switching coaches. And the new coach, he's a good coach, but I feel like he didn't think I was good enough yet. Or in the beginning of the season, he thought like I can make a big impact. But then as the season went on and on, I kind of got comfortable, right? So all that work that I put beforehand, like I wasn't doing the same thing once I started to get on the Fury team, you know what I mean? Like I kind of got comfortable and I was just like, whatever, like I just go to practices and stuff, and then ended up getting cut 2013. But I was like, you know what, whatever, like I'm just gonna put my head down and work. So the whole year I wasn't on the team, but I was training with the team every single day while I was playing with the Auto Royals. So I went back to the Auto Royals and I was playing every single day with the Auto Royals while I was cut with the Fury guys, training with the Fury guys. And so you can imagine, like when I go to training, I was just a training player, So like a lot of the players didn't take me seriously, like they didn't think I was good enough. But I didn't even care about that stuff. I just trained really hard. And then in the next year, I think this was a year where I really started to excel and I started to, get really good. I think we had at this time, the Fury were in the NSL. So they had guys like Richie Ryan, Drew Becky, the Guzman. So all these guys, all these really high level players playing at the time. And then we had two coaches coming in. So Mark Dos Santos, who's coaching the Vancouver Whitecaps now, and then Phil Dos Santos, who's his older brother, who was a technical director. Okay, now he came in, and I remember these trials. So I was transitioning from not being on the team to trying out for the senior academy. And during this time, I was like, yo, it's either I do something really good or, like I won't be on this team. And this was the only team that you can play on. It was either this or you can play for OSU. Those were the two like competitive teams where you can really showcase yourself in the city. So I kid you not, I remember this was my first year out of college. So I took a year off and I was working. So I was coaching gymnastics in the morning. I'd work from 8 till 12, 8 till 1. I'd go home, take a nap, wake up. We had trials. Like I can't tell you the dates because it's so far away.
Sure.
But we had trials. Like say we had trials 3 times this week. So I after work I'd go home. I take a nap, wake up. I used to listen to this speech, 10-minute, like best of 10-minute motivational speeches, and I don't know what it was, but I would listen to that speech every day. But when I wake up, when I go to the change room, and I was just super locked in, super focused. Like I started doing stuff in training that I was I couldn't believe it. Like when I in the tryouts, like I did really well in the tryouts. The coaches noticed me right away, and then it got really good. Like I started training. And Phil Dos Santos saw that I was, making improvements. And a lot of times, some of the first team guys would come down to watch our training sessions, and they used to give me tips. They used to be like, "Yo, you're doing really good. Keep it up." Stuff like that. Like there's a guy named Romelu Pizer, and he just signed with Impact as a coach. So he's played in Spain, he's played in the NSL, he's played in the MLS, and so he's got like a really good background in soccer. And I remember him at the time specifically telling me like, "Good job, keep going. You're doing a good job." And during that year, I feel like when they took over, like I took advantage of it because a lot of the guys that were on my team before didn't think I was good enough. I was catching up. Do you know what I mean? And so they kind of just went with it. But for me, it was kind of like I was more hungry. Do you know what I mean? And so like, bro, like the stuff that the academy brought in, like the technical director Phil, he changed everything. Like when we wake up, we have to do our readiness, like how many hours we slept. We go into training, you have to weigh in. You do all this rehab stuff. So you come into training 2 hours before. We do all the foam roller stuff. Like we had a strength and conditioning coach, and it was seriously professional. You know what I mean? And I feel like during that time, a lot of people took advantage of it, they just like showed up to training. But at the
Right.
time, I saw something, and then the coach believed in me, so I started gaining more and more confidence. So during that year, like I was doing really good. I ended up being the captain, and then Phil DeSantos really liked me, and then he was like, uh, "How would you like to start to train with the first team?" So I started going to train with the first team guys. So like all these big names that I gave you before, the Guzman, Richie Ryan, all these Tommy Heineman, I was training with them, and it was kind of the same thing. Like I just wake up, listen to my speeches, do all that type of stuff. Go into training. I used to do things like that I couldn't believe. Like I would like
Yeah.
neg someone, or I would make a sick pass, and I was just like, "What's going on?" It was just like I'm sure you've had those moments where, you've had those highlights where you're just like wow, like how did I do that? And so that's kind of how I got into the academy, and then started training with the NSL team. So
Yeah, that's unreal. Talk more a little bit about how you develop that mindset where you let kind of let things roll off your back. Like people may say that you're not good enough. People may have like a
mhm,
crap attitude towards you or whatever. Like how do
mhm.
you practice and develop the habits that give you the ability to just kind of say it doesn't matter anymore?
Yeah. The thing is, bro, like for me, I'm kind of like like it's not easy, but for me, I'm really oblivious to that stuff. Like someone
Mm,
could have been saying that stuff, and I didn't even realize because I was like super focused about my goal and what I wanted to do. Like when I started running, like when I tell you, man, like I'd be last every time. The girls, everyone would be like, Anthony, man, we have to wait for you again, But like I was kind of oblivious to that stuff. I was just like, whatever. Like I was so focused on myself, I didn't really like hear anything. You know what I mean? And
mhm.
now that I think about it now. When I was training with the Ottawa Fury team, I remember some of the guys like treating me like the way they were treating me, like this guy's not good enough, like laughing or whatever. Like they wouldn't take me seriously, And now that I'm in the situation that I'm now, and I look back at it, I'm like, whoa, like these guys really thought like I wasn't gonna make it this far, or and I'm just like but I at that time I didn't realize it because I was just so focused. It's not like I did anything mentally or like to help me focus at the time. I was just super focused and locked in on my goals. You know what I
Mm,
mean? And I guess what drove me was that I wanted to prove people wrong, right? Because I felt like in myself I had the ability and I knew that I can get to the next level or I can improve and at least show it. You know what I mean? And so that's what really helped me during that time. It's my belief in myself. And sometimes it was a little too much where I feel like I could do things that obviously I couldn't. You know what I mean? And so during that time, it's not necessarily like a certain thing that I was doing. I was just so focused on my goals. I didn't even, I kind of blocked everything out.
yeah, that's you. Well, and I imagine that some of the motivational stuff you were listening to was you were sort of
Yeah.
like subconsciously internalizing that message over and over again as well, like which is probably pretty helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I didn't even notice that. I just started listening. I was just like, let me just start listening to these motivational speeches, and then it just became a ritual. Like I was doing it. I was super pumped up for games. Super locked in and focused, and I was just like, wow, like that's when I
Yeah,
started realizing about mental strength, and preparing for that type of stuff. So
definitely.
100%.
And you were with them through 2016, 17, that the
Yeah,
first like training with the first team and stuff?
training with the first team, yeah, and then in 2017, yeah, 2016, I think me. So this is where it kind of goes downhill.
Fair
So
enough.
towards the end of the season, it's like summertime, season starting over in Europe, and then me and my friend we met some guy who came to the Ottawa Fury tryouts, and he was like, "Hey, I have a couple connections in France. If you guys want to come over." And at the time, so I was 17. I didn't have any idea about visas, transfers, all this stuff. I just wanted to play. I wanted to play. I was doing so well. Everything was going so good for me. I was like, you know what? Let's try and go to France. Let's try and go to Europe. Didn't know what I was doing. I don't know what I was thinking. Me and my best friend, we ended up going to France. We left Fury towards the end of the season. There were like 2 games left or whatever. Um, and then like the expectations that we had of what we were going, that wasn't it at all. Like we thought we'd be playing in a high division. It wasn't that at all. And at the time, if I'm being honest, I didn't even know like you needed a visa to play on a team there, right? Like
Right.
I'm an American citizen. I have an American passport. So I had up to 90 days or whatnot. But I didn't even know that, like, obviously, if a team wanted to sign you, they'd have to pay a transfer fee. all this visa stuff. And I learned that while I was in France, and that's when I
Okay.
got connected. That's when I got connected with Jeff and Godwin. So
Yeah.
the way I met Jeff, he came on to try out for the team, the first team during the NASL season. And
Okay.
and since I was in the senior academy, he was training and playing some games with us, transitioning him to the first team. And so when I first met Jeff during that season, that's how we became friends. And then when I went to France with my friend, Jeff and Godwin, they were both in Europe trying to do the same thing,
Yeah.
hopping from state to state, from city to city, trying to, sign a pro contract. And then I remember me and my friend were kind of stranded. We're like, what are we gonna do? We have no one. We don't know what to do. Jeff and Godwin came, kind of saved us a little bit. They broke everything down to us. Hey, you need a CV. Hey, you need a highlight video. So these guys helped me with all that type of stuff. And then that's when I started understanding more. I was like, oh, so this is how it works, right? And so like now, most of these kids who are playing in the academy and who want to go pro, they have these resources or they have some people telling them. Like me and you, when we were younger, we didn't have, like, I didn't even find out that stuff until I was 18. And I was like, and that's kind of late. And so that's how I kind of met Godwin and Jeff, and then we became even closer through that. So ended up going to France, and then things didn't work out. Obviously, it didn't work out with the way we wanted it to go. So we came back home. Once we came back home, the season was done for the Ottawa Fury, and so I was kind of stuck because I left mid-season or towards the end of the season, and so Phil obviously he wasn't happy. He was kind of like, you kind of just left, and I had something really good. So at the time I was just, it just wasn't a good decision. And I'm not saying like I would switch it if I could go back, because I obviously experienced a lot in France and I learned a lot, you know what I mean? But at the time it wasn't the best decision to make, but like everything's happened in life for a reason, and you just learn and you pick up and you keep moving, right? And then I think that's when I realized I was like, well, I'm gonna have to start playing again, start getting into clubs and academies and stuff. So that's when I decided to go to college, and then ended up going 2 years in college before going to off to my next part of my career. So
Yeah, that's wild. I had a very similar experience in Spain. And I think like it is interesting when you have people, and obviously I don't know who brought you over to France, but the individual who brought me and a couple other guys over to Spain, it was a very similar thing where it was sort of like, come over here, we've got this great setup for you, which it was for a little bit, but it was sort of like, you've got to figure out everything. And at the time, I had no idea about visa, very similar to you, like didn't know about the visa. The person who brought me over wasn't going to help me with a visa, like all that stuff. And I think I wish there was a way, and I'm glad OPSM exists now, because I actually spoke to Jeff for a video on my channel as well, like another interview. So it'll come out right before this one. And so like listening to him talk about that time period when you guys were all in Europe together.
Oh, he talked about it. He talked about it
Yeah,
too?
bro. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so he spoke about it a little bit, but it's cool to know that there are people out there like yourself and like Jeff and Godwin who have been through that and are now working towards a much more, I guess, like ethical way of going about soccer. Like a lot of it is really sleazy and really gross, and I think that's at least why I was so attracted to OPSM in the first place a couple of years ago, was like, you guys are doing it the right way, which is great. So it's been cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So wild. So you were in college then for 2 years, and then you were in and then you went down to Tasmania, like NPL in Tasmania.
Yeah. So before I went to Tasmania, I went to New Zealand. So yeah, I'll catch you up. So 2 years, in 2017, I was like, you know what? Let me go to school. So I ended up signing up for Algonquin College, right? Went to Algonquin College. I played 2 seasons there. I did really good. My first year, I got Rookie of the Year. And the main reason why I went there was to get my highlight tape, get game footage, so then I could start sending it out to coaches and stuff. So I played 2 seasons there. And then in the new year of 2018, that's when Godwin started basically like becoming an agent. So
Yep.
before that, when I got back from France, Godwin started OPSM through training. So the first like way it started was just training. So me and a couple of guys, we started training with Godwin. We'd go out to Canada, like the area where he lives in, and then he would train us. So that's how it started. And then as the time progressed, I went through 2 years of college. He had built up some connections, and he was playing in New Zealand at the time. And he was like, "Hey, Anthony, we may have a good opportunity for you to go overseas and play." Now, this was February at the time, so I wasn't finished my second semester, but my season had already finished. So I was like, well, if I can go somewhere, like, why not? Why would I stay here, right? So then in February, I ended up going to New Zealand, and I was playing in the first division, so in the Northern Premier League. I was supposed to play for a team called Team Taranaki, but when I got there, like the team had to fold because I'm not sure why, but they just didn't. They ended up not having a team, and so I was supposed to play in the Central League with Team Taranaki, and it was a pretty good setup. Like I got there, they set me up with housing, they gave me a car, they gave me money for food, and so they took really good care of me while I was there. So it was good setup, and then that time they were like, yeah, we're not gonna have a season. I was kind of like, oh, like I'm in New Zealand. Well, like, what am I gonna do? And then at the time, the coach, he had good connections in New Zealand. He was like, hey, I know someone here. You can go to Hamilton, and then you can have a trial for Hamilton Wanderers. And so this is a really good team. They play in the first division in the Northern Premier League. So it was another one of those situations where I went in a trial. I went there. They set me up with housing while I was on a trial. I did really well. The coach wanted to sign me. Like, I think after one day he wanted to sign me because I did like I showed up well. So coach ended up wanting to sign me, and then they gave me a host family. By far, honestly, but New Zealand, by far one of the best places I visited. The people there were so nice. They were so welcoming, and it was kind of like I had my own little family because I was so far away from home. But it was my little family in New Zealand, and so ended up playing there. Now this is where the situation happens, and most soccer careers are just like up and down. So I'm an American citizen, right? At the time, I'm living in Canada. Now, New Zealand are pretty strict on their visa. New Zealand and Australia both are really strict on their, applying for visas and things and getting you to play, to work and play. And so I was an American citizen, but when I signed up, I was living in Canada. So the address and everything that I give was Canadian. But the thing is, I have an American passport. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I was supposed to give an address from America. But like my family was with me in Canada. You know what I mean? So the whole process kind of like got mixed up. So the whole time I was there, 3 months in New Zealand playing, I thought we were good, for a visa. Because they wouldn't in New Zealand, they won't let you in the country without having like a holiday work visa or some type of visa. You know what I mean? And so they let me in. So I thought everything was okay. So 3 months, I remember I get an email, and then I'm just looking at the email. I'm like, holy what? They're like, yeah, you may have overstayed a couple days in New Zealand. And then I started freaking out. So then I told my team, I obviously told my team, talk to the manager. I told my host family, and then they're like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And they're like, well, you're gonna have to leave and then reapply to come back in. And so while I was in New Zealand, the closest place was Australia. So then I was like, hey, why not? I'll just go to Australia. I know someone there in Tasmania. I was like, why not? And then I'll come back. So the whole time I'm thinking, I'm going back to New Zealand. Like everything there is nice. I didn't bring all my stuff with me. Ended up flying from New Zealand to Tasmania. And then this was when it was really tough because I was situated in Australia, and my friend that was living there at the time, he couldn't like help me with the living situation, right? And so when I got there, I was kind of like, oh, where am I gonna stay? Like first couple of days, I remember he gave me someone that I can stay with, so I was staying there. And then after that, I had to start staying in a hostel. And not a lot of people know this, but there were days when I was like, what am I gonna eat today, or what am I gonna do tonight? Because I wasn't situated, like I was so focused on going back to New Zealand. Like I was like, no, there's nothing I'm gonna do here in Australia. I'm not staying, I'm going back. And then 2 weeks gone by, and I was like, well, like, obviously I'm not going back. I need to figure out what my next move is. And so you can imagine for like 2 to 3 weeks, a month, I was just like, bro, sometimes I would say, where am I gonna sleep? I'm gonna sleep in a hostel. Like it was hard at the time, but it was also kind of cool because I got to step outside my comfort zone, and I got to meet a lot of new people. And the one thing about like living in the hostels where I met a lot of backpackers, a lot of people who were from around the world, which was amazing. Really nice people, and I've connected with so many, cool people. But at the time, soccer wise, I was kind of like I'm kind of screwed. Like, what am I gonna do? And then while I was in Australia, I was like, you know what? Since I'm here, why not email all the coaches, get in contact with them? So I ended up contacting this coach named Ken, who played for Man United back in the day, and so he's pretty well known in Tasmania. He had a academy and a whole academy school that he was running, and he had a club. So I sent him my highlights. He liked my highlights. Ended up meeting up with him. Brought me out for a trial. Things went well. I ended up signing for South Hobart. But during this time, it was kind of close to the end of their season.
Okay.
So their season, yeah, this was around August, and their season ends around like end of August. So then, yeah, he was super nice. He took me in. He was paying for my place to stay, giving me money for food,
Dang.
and yeah, and so I started working and coaching for his academy, and they really helped me as much as they could. You know what I mean? And so I was kind of like, okay, well, not bad. I started playing games, even though it took me 3 to 4 weeks to get my international transfer. Started playing games, liked it in Australia, met so many cool people, and then I started to vlog in Australia. I
Yeah.
remember I was like, you know what, why not? Like, I'll start to vlog while I'm here. And then, yeah, so that's how I ended up in Australia. So my career has just been so many ups and downs. So you could imagine it's just like when close to the end of the season, I was kind of like, you know what, like I'm just gonna go home. Like I miss my
Yeah.
family, I miss everyone back home, and I enjoyed it in Australia, but I was like, yeah, it's time for me to go home. Like I'm the type of person like I can stay away from home for a year, even though I'll miss my family, like I can just put my head down and work. But I remember I was just like, no, like I'm just gonna go home, train again, and then go from there, see my options. Right. So
For
then this
sure.
is towards the end of 2018. So
Yep.
September time, I end up back home in Ottawa. Mhm.
That's crazy, bro. But I genuinely don't think that players, like young players, appreciate how challenging that sort of situation is. Like you're thousands of kilometers away from home. You have nobody, like you're in a foreign country. Thank God they spoke English, right? Like
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least they spoke your language,
yeah.
and they were able to help you out. But it sounds like you met some really incredible people. What kind of
Mhm.
what goes through your head on a day when you're sitting in a hostel, or I know you sort of like alluded to it a little bit, but like what am I going to eat tonight, or like where am I going to stay? Like what does that do to you as a player, and how does
Yeah.
that make you appreciate times like now where you're like
Now,
in
bro,
a chill
bro,
space, you're like with OPSM,
so
like
much,
dude, you got
bro.
it in the bag.
So much. Honestly, I appreciate so much. And even now that I'm living here, so South Bend, they have a really good setup for us.
Yeah.
And then like someday, like I'm at like they bring food for us every Sundays. They take really good care of us here. We have a place to sleep. And I don't complain about anything. Bro, I have a bed, I have food, like I wake up, I have somewhere to sleep. I don't complain. It just makes you appreciate life so much more, and it
Yeah.
makes you more hungry. You know what I mean? And like I'll explain it later when I tell you how like I ended up signing my first contract and stuff. It just made me like preparing for anything. And
Mm.
even during that time, I remember like I'm the type of person I'll try to make the best out of everything. Like I'll think everything happens for a reason, which does. So even though I was sleeping in a hostel, uh, I still try to make the best of it. I try to go out and train. I I try to connect with as many people as I can, because connections in the world is just huge,
It's
right?
cash.
So,
Yeah.
100%, right? And so, like, I just always try to make the best of it, bro. I just remember I was just like, some days were hard. I was like, wow. Like, there was one day I was close to sleeping at a McDonald's because I ended up running out of money. And then like, you know, I was like, well, I'm not gonna sleep in the hostel. Like, they're obviously not gonna let me sleep for one night. And fortunately for me, one of my friends at the time, he knew someone that was also a footballer, and they were like, you know what, you can come stay with us, and then you'll be good. And I just remembered. And the thing is, I'm the type of person, like, I'll be struggling, but like, I don't show it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
most of my family back home, like my mom, even till this day, I haven't even told her like that I slept in the house. If I told her, she'd be like, "Oh my gosh, like, why didn't you tell me?" Like, because there's a lot of people that I've been blessed who that can help me, but I feel like in those situations, like, it just makes you stronger and it prepares you for pretty much anything, right? So
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And what was your talk about your decision to start the vlog? That's like so out of the blue. Like
yeah,
what makes that the time you wanted to
so
start it?
So two people that actually inspired me a lot to do the vlogs. The first person who I started vlogging while watching vlogs was a guy from Ottawa. His name was Aaron Hooper. He doesn't vlog as much anymore, but he used to do a lot of vlogs, and he was the first person, like, way before I left to France. Like, I remember he was vlogging, and I was kind of like, this is actually kind of cool. This is something that I would get into. And then,
Yep.
but even during those times, I was watching a lot of Matt Sheldon. A
Yeah.
lot of people have seen Matt Sheldon, and then I was kind of like, whoa, like, this would be cool to show players, because a lot of players go through it. A lot of players who want to reach the next level are going through what I've been through. So I was like,
Hmm.
why not show that? But the main reason why I started the vlogs was to show my travel, because like, I did a New Zealand video, I was in Australia, and I was kind of like, whoa, I'm super blessed to be traveling around. And despite all those bad things happening, like, I was making new friends, meeting new people, and that was the whole purpose of it. It wasn't like, when I started my vlogs, it wasn't to be like to document like just soccer. I didn't want it to just be like a soccer channel, you
Okay.
know. I wanted it to be like a travel thing, like wherever I go, when I travel back home, when I go to Haiti, things like that, just to kind of show people around the world, right? And then as I started doing it more and more, then I was kind of like, oh, it's big. Like, a lot of young footballers look up to YouTubers. So then that's how I kind of transitioned into more of a footballer YouTuber,
Yeah.
But first, I wanted to do travel because I was traveling around. So that's what got me into it.
That's very cool. Yeah. So you were in home September of that year, like 2000, late 2018, and then talk about your process of like being home, training, and then trialing or I guess getting signed with your first pro contract.
Yeah. Well, it was cool, man. Like, I went back home. Like, I was with my family, and like, when you're away from home and you go back home and you see your family, it's the best, right? With my mom, my sister, my aunt, all these people who supported me throughout my whole life. So just it's kind of like a refresh button. You go
Hmm.
back home, you get to refresh. You don't have a lot of stress. You're training every day, and then obviously OPSM, we're doing a lot of training sessions at the time. So I was coaching, I was working, and then I was also training and getting better, right? So got into that. So 2018 September. Now, when I left Australia, I left on good terms with the coach, and then their preseason was starting in the new year again, and they were
Yep.
like, "Yo, we'd like you to come back." So I was like, "Hey, why not? If I'm not doing anything at home, why not go back to Australia? Get some game footage." And also, they were in the beginning of the preseason. They were playing a lot of teams from Melbourne, so all these NPL 2 teams, with like that pay well, all these things. So I was like, it could be good exposure for me. So I went back home, but when I left Australia, I got a round trip. So I got a
Mm.
round trip to come back just in case I wanted to go back. So I came back home, I refreshed, trained, and then I think in November time, I remember late November, I was like, I'm gonna go to Australia. Left again, started doing preseason with them. I was playing well, and then this time was a lot better because we had everything sorted. So I came back. I lived
Yeah.
with a teammate. His name is Hugh. If he's watching, I don't know if he'll see this video, but big shout out to
Fair.
him. Yeah, I lived with him while I was there. They were super nice. They took care of me while I was there, and then I was basically training and getting prepared, um, because before I left to Australia, Godwin had told me about the opportunity that I'd be able to go to Tulsa. Jeff
Okay.
was Jeff was training with them at the time, and I
Yep.
remember in October I was kind of like, yo, let me go to Tulsa, because Jeff was there at the time. I was like, let me go try out at least. And then they were like, just be patient, just wait. And then we can try and get you in. So Jeff ended up signing for the next year. They really liked him there. And then they were like, go to Australia, do your preseason there, get fit, get ready, and then go to Tulsa. And then that's what I did. So I made sure I told the coach, I didn't leave on bad terms or anything. I told them that this is the opportunity that I may have. So I did preseason until the end of January for Tulsa, and then took my flight. So at this time, OPSM helped me with my flight. So I obviously I was working while I was in Australia, but
Yep.
like for a flight from Australia is like, you've done it. It's like $1,200. It's expensive. So
Yep.
these guys legit paid for my flight. They were like,
Damn.
bro, we believe in you. We know you can do it. Paid for my flight for me to go from Australia to Tulsa. And then when I was going from Tulsa to Australia, I was kind of from Australia to Tulsa. I was kind of like, this is my last chance. If I don't sign here, like, not that I'm gonna quit, but I
Sure.
put it into my head that this is gonna be my last opportunity, And so when I was traveling to Tulsa, I just remembered like all the times when I was in Australia struggling, like prior to that, it just made me more and more hungry, and it was one of those cases where same thing again. I went to training, I would listen to a different motivational speech this time, but
Hey.
I was listening to Denzel Washington, listening to worship songs in the morning, just basically just to get my mindset right. Went from Australia to Tulsa. I was living with Jeff and his roommate Janu at the time, and then I did really well, and it felt like everything that could have gone right that year gone right, because they had like every position was full except for the left back position. So they had one left back who came from Sweden who was a good player, and then they didn't have a second left back. So originally I was supposed to be a second left back. I came in, I balled out. I did really well. Like the first week, talked to Mike, and then they were like, "Yeah, we like you." And I think going into there, what really helped me is like the guys that were there at the time were really cool guys, and I made friends with them really early. So before I was even on the team, I would be doing events with the guys. It was kind of crazy, but we went to a casino, and I remember like I wasn't even signed yet, but we went to a casino, and then the guys had like a bunch of questions that they had to answer. And so a lot of times when I'm in the change room, like I'll joke with the guys, I'll dance with them or whatever. And then they got up on stage and they were asking like, who's the best dancer on the team? I don't even like, and I wasn't even on the team, And then they were like, oh, Anthony. So they made me get up on stage and dance and stuff. And then I think when the coach saw that, he was like, oh, like I gel well with the team. The boys liked me. I was performing on the field. So then I ended up signing my first pro contract. And I remember till this day, like I was super excited. It was just like, bro, everything that I went through the year prior, everything just set me up. It made me so hungry. Like when I went to trial, I didn't care about anything. I just woke up and I trained. I trained. I did my best, did the best that I could do. And so that's how I ended up signing my first pro contract in 2019.
Hell yeah. That's amazing. How do you, when you're going, and maybe this is a subconscious thing for you, because like you seem like a super positive guy and, really, really harping on that positive attitude always, no matter what, make the best out of most things. But how do you go into a new environment like that? For a lot of people, I think not only is it the stress of like, I want to make that team, but it's also a social stress, right? Like you've got that like, wow, I got to meet a ton of new people for the first time. And they like, I want them to like me, because otherwise it's not going to work.
Right. I think it goes back to the connection thing, right? Because I already knew Jeff. So I already knew Jeff. Jeff was already my boy. I went to live with Jeff, and then I met Janu, who was his roommate at the time. And so you kind of see it like when trialists come in, if you don't know anyone, it's very hard, especially if you're coming in during the season, because a lot of the guys are going to be like, who is this guy? Like, he's coming in. They're going to be the first approach like that you'll get is when you come in for a trial is people are going to be like, who's this guy? Like he's coming to take my spot, or, like you've seen it, like you've seen it when people come in and it's kind of like, yo, this guy, And so for me, I was kind of blessed because I already knew Jeff, and then I made friends with Janu. So when I went to training, Jeff would be like, "Hey, this is Anthony. Talk to him." Boom, boom, boom. I say hi. So like having that connection through Jeff, kind of helped me get in better with the guys because Jeff at the time he was already signed, so he was one of the players that were obviously experienced and
Yeah.
well looked up to from the team. So he kind of introduced me to the guys, and then I don't know, it just everything just went right. It's kind of like what I said. Everything just gelled right. DJ, who's also another OPSM
Yep.
player, like he was a younger player at the time. Me and him, we kicked it off right away, and then I was super cool with him, super cool with a lot of the guys. That's when I met Matt for the first time too. Like I
Cool.
remember in the change room when Matt came in, and I was kind of like, oh, it was like I met like a celebrity. I was like, whoa, this is actually Matt. And then like I shook his hand and stuff, and I was like, wow. And I was so nervous when I was talking to him, like when we were doing one of the workouts. But Jeff already knew Matt because Matt was also trialing for Tulsa at the time, like in October. So then Jeff just made that connection. He was like, hey, this is my boy Anthony. He's on the trial here. He's from Canada, everything. So then everyone was just like very welcoming. And then I think the time that I came made it perfect because games, they didn't start playing games yet. It was after the first week of preseason. So all the guys were just getting to know each other, So like at the time when I went in there, it was kind of like, whoa, like this is Anthony's, it's just everything, bro. Everything just went right,
Yeah. That's awesome. And like, what a cool experience meeting somebody who you had watched for, so long too. Like, even players like, even players like us who have our own channels now, like it's like those guys are the OG. You see like 7 MLC and you see Matt in real life, or you talk to him, it's like, whoa, like these guys are, they're just people, they're just players. Like that's what it is. Pretty wild.
I want to say something funny too, because so when I was in New Zealand, Matt was also playing in New Zealand, and then at the same time, so we kind of overlapped. But he was down in Wellington, and I sent him a message. I was like, hey, bro, I see that you're playing in New Zealand. I just wanted to let you know, like, I follow your YouTube videos. I watch you, and it would be cool. Hopefully, we can play against each other, stuff like that. I messaged him, but that's the time where he really went from, like, he made a big jump, So during that time when he made that big jump, he was getting a lot of messages, and he probably didn't even see my message, so he didn't message me back, And then when I met him, I told him, I was like, yeah, bro, I messaged you and stuff, and I guess he didn't see it. Like he was like, oh, no way. So then like he looked at the messages, and then he's like, he saw that I messaged him, he didn't answer, and so every time I talk with him, I'm like, bro, I messaged you the first time. You never messaged me. You're a superstar. I kind of like banter with him a little bit, and then I feel like that kind of helped me too at first, because I brought it up to him, and he was just like, damn, like, because even for me now that I'm a YouTuber, and then like I'll meet people that watch my videos, they'll be like, bro, I watch your videos or something. Like I'm like right away, I'm like, no way, bro. Like, what's your name? I want to get to know them, and then connect with them. And so I feel like that kind of helped me with Matt when I brought that up, and then now I just laugh at him and I tell him, bro, I can't believe you didn't message me and stuff. So
that's funny. Quick plug too. This is wild, but as we were talking, right on my phone, got the notification for your new video, bro.
That was pretty cool, bro. Did you see the stories? Did you see who's on it?
Alfonso Davies.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So my teammates here, two of my teammates, OPSM athletes, Dido and David and Abe, they're really close friends with him. So they grew up together playing, and he was in Chicago, and then he was like, come down. He wanted to see them, and then they brought me along. So I was blessed, and it goes with the connection thing. Like, imagine if I never met these guys, I would have never met Alfonso, right?
Yeah.
So then he got on the vlog and stuff, and I challenged him in 2-touch. So hopefully you can see a 2-touch between me and Alfonso Davies.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Yeah. Is he a cool guy?
Yeah, he's cool, man. He's cool. Super cool. Funny. Just like you see on his videos, he's very chill. And very funny. Cool
Definitely.
guy.
So now you're at South Bend. What is that? What was the transition from Tulsa to South Bend, and what's sort of the next move for you after this season or halfway through the season?
Okay. So last year, this last year, 2020 was probably a hard year for everyone. This was
Yeah.
probably one of my hardest years, just because, not because not playing and whatnot, but a lot of things happened throughout that year. So obviously, with the whole COVID situation, things started off in March. Now I was on a trial with Tormenta FC at the time,
Okay.
and they weren't looking to sign me because they already had another left back that they were interested in. So I went down for trials. Didn't go well. Ended up going back home in March. Now, when that happened, that's when COVID broke out, and so
Mm.
like I kind of looked at it as like, yeah, I didn't sign for Tormenta, but with the whole pandemic going on right now, like I'm blessed to be home with my family. People were sick, and that's when it was super serious, right? People were sick and people were dying at the time. So I was kind of like, hey, you know what? Blessing in disguise. I'm not overseas. I'm not stuck in America. I'm home with my family, because they shut down all the borders, all that stuff. So I was home with my family throughout that whole year. And then summer last year, around June, one of my really like close best friends, I mentioned him, his name was Yaya in the video earlier. So he passed away. And I remember this time was probably the hardest year of my life, the hardest time of my life, because already I wasn't motivated. We were on lockdown, the whole COVID thing. No soccer was happening. There were no games, and we just started training. Like they just allowed outside training, And so it was a really tough time for me. Like I just remember not being motivated to train to play because like when someone like that close to you, passes away, it's really tough. So, really tough for me then, and then I started finding more motivation towards August, September, and the German. So I had a German team that reached out to me in the fifth division in Germany, and so they wanted me to come out for trials, but not necessarily for trials. They wanted to sign me. They just wanted me to go there and see me. So I was gonna go and sign, and then around October time, that's when I started getting more and more motivation. I started training a lot more. Things started opening up and started picking back up. And then I remember I had my flight October 25th. So October 25th, I went to Montreal. I was supposed to fly out. I was about to get on my flight, and then they're like, "Oh, yeah, you can't travel to Europe right now, because Europe banned everyone from North America at the time." So
Yikes.
yeah, another thing that I was like, man, like how can this keep happening, And so, but as you know, I try to be as positive as I can.
Yep.
I used that time to stay home, get as close to my friends, my family as I could, and then just basically try to get ready for any opportunity. And then during that time, November time, that's when Matt hit me up, and Matt was like, "Hey, bro, like, would you like to come to Portland or whatever? Maybe do like a preseason with me and stuff like that." And I was like, "Oh man, that would be amazing," because I had nothing at the time, So I had nothing, and then I was like, "Bro, that'd be sick. Why not?" So I ended up going to Portland in January of 2020, 2020 or 2021. And then, I trained with Matt for 2 to 3 weeks, created a lot of YouTube videos. And that's when my YouTube started getting a lot more views,
Yep.
a lot more recognition. And then at that time, I still didn't have anything, so I didn't have an opportunity. This South Bend opportunity didn't come until a little later when I was in Tulsa. So from there, I went to Tulsa. I was doing the OPSM training camp, that we had going on there. So I was still getting fit, training, trying to stay ready as ready as possible. Ended up doing a couple combines with OPSM, working and helping in both. And then this opportunity came up, the South Bend opportunity. And I'm not gonna lie, at first I was kind of like it's USL2, like the USL2 and the USL championship levels are very high. But then I had to remind myself, like, I haven't done anything. Or like a year and a half, I haven't played any official games. I had nothing, So for me, and I didn't prove anything. Like you know what I'm saying? So for me at the time, I couldn't be like, oh, I can't go play the USL2. Like, it was kind of like, who am I to say that? Because at the time, I didn't have anything, I didn't have no contract, no team. I wasn't playing games. So I looked at it and I was like, realistically, this is a really good opportunity for me to come back, play and get games and get experience. And so that's how I ended up here in South Bend. Now they have a lot of really good plans for the future. they're a team that's looking to go pro in the future. And so the whole coaching staff here, like the development, they want to basically grow something for the future. And
Okay.
so that's how I ended up here. Came here. I've been doing well. Our season is going good. We're a really good team. We have a lot of players from NCAA who play all around the world, all around North America. So we're pretty good. Right now we're sitting mid-table, and so we're just looking to make top three and make it into playoffs and make a name for ourselves. But it's been, like I said, it's been really cool because the setup here has been nice. We have housing situated, food, so there's not much more I can ask for. So I'm just playing games week in, week out. I'm like a co-captain, so some games I wear the captain band, which is cool, and just getting experience and playing a lot of games right now. So
That's fantastic, man. What sort of like, I guess, the goals for this season? Do you have any like specific goals for this season, and then what that looks like for you after this season's over?
yeah, so my specific goals, individual goals, are just to play as many games as I can while I'm down here. So we have 14 games before playoffs. So I want to play at least 12 games, before the playoffs. So I want to play at least for as many games as I can, get 90 minutes in, and then potentially sign after. Now, the thing is, a lot of the guys here, they're in college still. So those guys will be going back to college and those guys will be going back to school. But my goal is different. I obviously want to sign pro. So I want to sign in either the USL 1 or USL Championship. I mean, I haven't had any offers or anything come up yet, but the goal for me individually is to stand out as a left back, play as many minutes, not necessarily get a lot of goals and assists, but try and assist the team as much as I can, and then get as far as I can with the team, be a leader and show that, that I'm growing and I'm experiencing and getting lots of playing time and getting better and better. So those are my individual goals. And then, basically my goal is to sign pro after this, because how the USL 1 doesn't go all the way throughout the whole year, right? It ends mid-July. So then mid-July, that's the half of the USL 1 and USL Championship season. So then hopefully get a transfer.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, but that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, very cool. So sort of a related but unrelated question. So you're what, 5'7", 5'8"?
No, 5'6", 5'6". Yeah.
5'6". Okay, so yeah. Okay, so because I get this question actually like often enough that it's I'm like average size. I'm like 5'10", I guess. So as a shorter player, how do you like? What are things that you would say for kids who are growing up in either their youth and they're shorter than all their peers, or they're wanting to go into college? Like, what sort of things do you focus on as a player who, like, in a USL team, you're probably going to be one of the shortest guys on the field?
Right, 100%. Especially if you're coming out of North America, right? For sure. If you're one of the smaller players, you're not going to be a player that's going to be bodying players, winning all the physical duels, the physical battles. So what I would say is obviously still work on those things, but try to be the most technical, right? Try to be the most sound, sharp. So working on your first touch, first touch out of your foot, passing, crossing, all the type of stuff that you can excel at. Because obviously you're not going to be winning headers over the biggest players. And in North America, USL Championship is more about like a physical battle, right? Sure. And so that's how I struggled in my 2019 year. It's not necessarily like that I played bad, because I ended up playing 12 to 14 games in my first year. So it was a good season. It was a good season for me, not a good season for the team, obviously, because we didn't do very well. But so basically work on all those things that are going to make you stand out as a smaller player. Like right now, for me, I'm like, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but technically is probably my best part of my game. And so I'm trying to work on my physical attributes to get faster, to get stronger. But I think what sets me out from the bigger players is my passing abilities, first touch, and then also just the mindset that you're going into your games is not really, a big thing. If you look at some of the best players in the world, look at Conte, you see Messi, they're the smaller players, right? Yep. And so even though we're in North America, you could still stand out and be one of the better players despite your height, right? Definitely. So that's what I would say. Work on those things that are going to help you individually and make you stand out as a small player. And then, stay away from those things like listening to people, you're not big like you're not big enough, you're not, because
Totally.
it's been proven 100% that no matter what like size you are, height you are, it doesn't even matter in football, so
That's
that's
it.
what I would say.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that's great advice. Thank you for that. Yeah, because again, it's something that I think, for guys that aren't like dead average size, like it's very easy to get caught into that, like, oh, I'm too tall or I'm too short or I'm too whatever. Like football's got all shapes and sizes, which is that's why I think it's such a great game.
No, that's big facts. But I wanted to add something because
Please.
sometimes I do, like every once in a while I'm like, am I too small, or like, like I never doubt myself as a player, and I never once thought that I'm gonna quit if I don't make it, or you know what I mean. But there's times where I ask myself questions like, 'cause we have to be realistic with ourselves, right? If
Mhm.
you're playing on a team that doesn't fit your playing style, that doesn't like to play, like for me, I like to play out the back, connect with my wingers, overlapping runs, stuff like that. If we're playing with a team that's more focused on the physical part of the
Mhm.
game, it's kind of tough for me. So I'll ask myself questions. I'm like, am I too small? Like, should I be playing in this position? You know what I mean? And I'm sure a lot of these younger players who are shorter like me have these questions all the time. And
Mhm.
then you just have to always remind yourself at the end of the day, like you can't you have to control what you can control. Right?
That's
Like
it.
I can't control being 5'6", but I can control getting better on the ball and being the best 5'6" player. You know what I mean? So that's why I wanted to
Yep.
add, because a lot of people might say, no, it doesn't bother me. It does sometimes. I'll be like, am I too short, or like, But what I realized recently, like I'll win a lot of headers, and I'm kind of like, people are kind of like, bro, you're like 5'6". How are you winning these headers and stuff? So you just have to focus on the things that you can control.
Yeah,
So
that's huge. That's huge. Yeah, well, let's do some rapid fire questions as we wrap things up a little bit.
let's go.
Who's your favorite team?
Arsenal, Gunner.
Oh my God. Okay, wow. All right. What's your favorite number to wear?
I like 18. I like to wear 18. And then right now I'm number 21. I kind of like 21 too. So 18 and
21. Okay.
21. Yeah.
Who's your favorite player of all time?
Mesut Ozil, favorite player of all
Class.
time. Yeah.
Absolute class.
Yes,
What are
sir.
your top three pairs of boots you've ever worn?
Top three. So F50 Adi Zeros. Uh, the the pink, white, and blue. You know the ones I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Pink,
for
white, and
sure.
blue ones. Those ones are my top three. The ghosted ones that I have right now. Have you seen my
Okay.
yellow ghosted ones?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know, like I think it's 19.1 or something. X ghosted 19. I don't know the number, but I like those ones. Those ones are top. And then there's one more. There's I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like. Do you remember when F50 ID zeros had like so like it was like the high. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like the high boot, like, so F50 at these Euros where they had like the tongue, where they had that the tongue, and it was like a higher boot. It wasn't like a low top. It was a high top. I can't even
Oh, the
explain
ones
it.
like when they were like pure chaos or whatever.
I can tell you, X. I know there were X's. There were X something. I remember. I wore them in my college years. Like if I,
Okay.
I like I don't know the names of it,
It's all
but
good.
I'll send you a picture and you can get it up on the screen, and
Perfect.
try not to make me look like an idiot. But I don't remember the name. But that's definitely one of my top
I'll
ones.
edit this. I'll edit this part out.
Nah, you can leave it. You can leave it. You can leave it. We gotta be real, so you can leave it. I don't
No,
mind.
that's it. And let's see. What's one place you'd love to play someday?
I'd love to play in Germany. I'd love to play for
Mm,
Borussia Dortmund in Germany, just because the atmosphere there, the fans, the playing style, the whole um, everything, bro. I'd love to play in Germany, Borussia
yeah,
Dortmund to be exact. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then, kind of topical for now. Who do you think will win the Euros?
I'm saying, bro, France are looking too good. I watched Belgium the game today. They're good. I'm saying sleeper picks. I like Germany, but I'm saying France or Italy.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
Italy,
Fantastic.
France is like the obvious, and then Italy is like my sleeper pick.
Yep.
You know.
And then where can people find you on social media? Like, what are your? Well, I'll have like all of your tags on the video, like throughout the whole
Mhm.
thing, so people will find you. But like,
Mhm.
where can people find you on socials?
On socials, well, if you want to find my YouTube, Anthony
Yep.
Legendre, very simple. On my
It'll be linked
Instagram,
down below.
yeah, you guys can find me on Legendre28 on my Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm on Twitter, Tony_Legendre. But yeah, like if you guys want to follow me, that'd be cool.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Definitely, man. Well, thank you very much for being on. It's been a pleasure having you, and obviously would love to train with you at some point, play with you at some point in the next year or so once I get done with surgery and all that stuff.
Let's do it, bro. We got to collab.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, thank you very much, bro. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on, bro. Thank you.
All right, fam, that is it for the video. Thanks so much for joining me for this interview with Anthony. He is, again, a fantastic human being. So stoked to have him on the channel, and we'll be doing some collabs, so go check out his channel that will be linked down below in the description box. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you got value from this video. Lots more coming this way. I'm actually video planning right now, so very excited for what's coming next on the channel. And hit that like button if you wouldn't mind. That would be very helpful for me in pushing this video and Anthony out to the rest of the YouTube world. So that is it, guys, for the video. Thanks again. As always, be awesome, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.